So I just had a few questions for you. Your piece is going to be played in our October show, so that's super exciting. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about how you first got into music, like as a child, and then how you got into composition specifically.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I mean, it is thanks to my mom that I am a musician. But I was around 11 years old, and I was born in Cuba, so we were living in Cuba at the time. And um, high schools at this time were starting to change, and the most common high school was for kids to be sent out away, like to the countryside, kind of away from the family, and like um, part of it you had to do like field work, like in the countryside, like farmer work type thing. And they were not the best education. So, my mom, when I was 11, like I still had some years, and my mom was figuring out things. So she discovered that music schools are usually better because, you go to a specialized music high school, and you stay on the city. Sorry. Where did I go?
Are you okay?
Yeah, my computer just freaked out. So sorry.
Okay, no worries. Go ahead.
Yeah, so music high schools are, because they're specialized, it's a lot better education. And again, you stay in the city, you stay with your family. So she found the person who did kind of like an audition for me, and just to see if I had some aptitude for music. And yeah, and the thing is that I was late because in Cuba, if you want to be a musician, if you want to be a piano player, you have to start by 7 years old. So it's definitely too late to be a piano player. And any other instruments, you have to start by 10. So I had to kind of do in 1 year what kids learn into. But long story short, I got into the music middle school. I then got into audition and got into the Conservatory of Music, which I didn't finish because we came to Canada. But yeah, but it was too late. Even here in Canada, my mom, when it was university time, my mom was saying, you're in Canada, like you can do anything you want. You can go do any career. I'm like, Mom, like you put me on this, and like music is my life. This is now what I do. I'm going to audition. If I don't get in this year, I am going to audition next year, and I will be doing music. So yeah, that's thanks to her.
And were you doing composition in school when you started? Like, did they start you on composition?
No, I actually was doing choral conducting in Cuba. So I was learning to be a conductor of choirs, which I really loved. And I did start around 15. I was in the conservatory where I started to, kind of write out some melodies. And I did my first piece when I was 15 that I performed myself. But I wasn't really serious. And it was when I came to Canada. And when I came here, I went to university. I wanted to be a singer. So I didn't think I wanted to be a composer, but I always loved writing. I used to write many, many stories as a child. And I used to have a really vast vocabulary in Spanish. I read a lot, love books. And when I came to Canada, thank God I knew English, but my English was never up to the par of my Spanish. And I felt so frustrated. Like those first few years in Canada, I was so frustrated because I just couldn't express myself the same way. And at Western, when I went to university, they had Intro to Composition, and I decided to take it. And I really fell in love with it. To me, it was like writing stories with music.
That's so neat. That's so neat. So you really came into being serious about a composer within your university education then?
Yeah, exactly. I still wanted to be a performer, but that I auditioned twice at Western and I didn't get in. So my second choice was composition, but I'm so glad. I'm so glad I have a composition degree because I still perform. I perform every year. I prepare my concerts. I still had singing lessons. I still sing right now. I'm still consider myself a performer. So I'm
you
glad
can be both.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, the thing is, like here in Canada, that's been a weird journey because in university it seemed like no, you can only be one. You're a composer or you're a performer. Like there was this limit, and I felt like I really had to fight. Like no, I can do both. I love doing both.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I've found that I feel that as well. Often you're told, you have to choose one path. And I'm an oboist, and I also like organizing music events, and I also do writing professionally, like as a technical writer. And I haven't chosen any one path, so I think it's okay.
No, yeah, exactly.
Um, what would you say some of your musical influences that maybe not necessarily influence your composition, but just in general that you listen to and influenced your life?
Well, I listen to everything. I love music. I love good music, and I believe there's good music in all genres. So I would listen from Baroque music and all the classical music, all romantic, 20th century. I love contemporary music. I love expressionist music. I love pop. I love rock. I love hip hop. Music is good music. I love it. Everything. It's great. And but one of my favorite composers is Shostakovich. I know that my music has kind of like this Shostakovich feel of it. But other than that, I'm constantly getting myself out there and like experiencing more music. I'm always trying to find what's new, what are artists doing right now.
Only one favorite, Shostakovich only.
And well, it's hard.
It's fair. For your string quartet that we'll be playing, Lyra, it's based on a star constellation. How did you come up with that theme or like that idea?
Well, I wrote it back in 2014, so it's been a little while. I can't exactly remember how I got into the stars, but I remember finding out that there is a star called Vega, and it's the brightest star of this constellation. My first last name is Vega. So I was like, oh, that's so neat. I want to write a piece featuring this star. And yeah, I remember that I drew there's like kind of 5 points, 5 stars that it has, and 2 of them are kind of together. So I drew the points and I put a music paper on top of that, and kind of where the points fell on the staff, that's the motif of the piece that you hear. And like you'll hear there's this like dun, 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 ba, 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 something like that, and then one of them is like 2 notes together, and that's the 2 stars that are together.
Which one of those is the Vega star?
G. The note G. Yeah,
cool.
Because I think the whole piece is this journey to G. And so yeah,
that's really neat. That's super neat. Is there anything that you're working on right now that you want to share with people?
Well, I just finished performing this July. I was very lucky to perform my one-woman opera called Sophie. So I performed that at the Toronto Fringe Festival, and then in Barrie, where I live, at the Simcoe County Theatre Festival. So I was very lucky to have 13 performances of my work.
Wow.
I'm working on where else can I perform it, and I'm also expanding it into a second act. And also I'll be starting to write a kids opera about the lake monster of Lake Simcoe.
Oh no, that sounds a bit scary.
Yes, apparently there is it's kind of like a Loch Ness story type thing here in Simcoe Lake, and it's called Kempenfeld Kelly. So yeah,
cool.
Those are the projects that I have right now in the bank.
And you also have the Art Song collaborative project. Did you want to talk a little bit about that one?
Yeah. So as I said, I kept singing at Western since third year. I organized my own recitals where whatever repertoire I've been working through the year, I would just showcase for my friends and family. And I do remember I love singing, but I remember after a few disappointments with auditioning for the opera at Western, because I wasn't a performer, I was never chosen. And I realized very early on that I just didn't want my life to be this audition after audition and disappointment after disappointment. And after school, I was like, I'm just gonna keep organizing my own concerts. And 2016, I asked my friends, my composer friends, like, hey, do you have a piece? Which was not a good idea. I asked them, do you have any piece for soprano and one or two instruments that I could perform? It's like, yeah, I'll just, easy, right? Well, the easy comes, I had to find a violinist, a flautist, a pianist, another singer. It was like, oh my God, no.
Because everybody will have a slightly different instrumentation.
Yeah, which I didn't think about. But I did it. It was great. And year after year, I kind of, refined it and finessed it. The next year I was like, no. I'll get the instruments first, and then I'll say, do you have a piece for this instrument? But then by 2018, that's when I was like, this needs a name and needs to be more. And I started actually commissioning composers, which is, I've been loving it. I haven't actually commissioned anything since 2020. Because the world has been crazy. My last commission, which I got a grant for, was 2020, and I was finally able to perform the pieces last year, 2022.
Wow!
So
a lot of plans got put on hold for that.
I know. So it's been a little bit, and then this summer with the two festivals that I performed, like, I just didn't have time to plan anything, but. Yeah, I've been loving it. The most fun for me is being able to, one, give composers an opportunity to get pieces performed, then singing new pieces that have never been performed, and this collaboration with composers, and you get to, really talk to them and find out, what do you do this, and how can I do it better, or how do you envision it, which we don't get that chance with pieces from the past.
It's true. Yeah. Sometimes even current pieces, if you get a current piece, you don't necessarily always get to talk to the composer.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's been great. Lots of learning experiences. Every year I learned something, and one of the last things I learned is that I've been a producer this whole time.
Who knew?
Who knew? I did this it was a co-op, an indie producer co-op, and it was through a theater company. But the teacher was first saying, like, all the things that a producer does. Like, yeah, they write the contracts, they do the schedules, they send the emails, they rent the truck. And it's like, I've been doing that for 5 years. Who knew? So, yeah.
Yep. It's as soon as you start organizing concerts for yourself, you're essentially a producer, I think.
Yeah, and then learning how to write grants and getting better at that. Yes. All the fun things.
Definitely. That was all my questions. Do you have anything else you want to share?
Well, thank you so much for this. I was so happy to get this string quartet performed again, because it's the sad reality of nowadays for composers is that you write your piece, it gets performed that one time, and then it just goes on the shelf and never again. So
it's true. Yeah, a lot of calls for scores are for brand new music only, but I think that limits it quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, thank you so much for this opportunity. So great that you are doing this and organizing this.